Greetings, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the RL podcast. I'm your host, RL Odhiambo. It's another wonderful and incredible opportunity to have a conversation that I believe will not only inspire you but will change how you view the world. Today, I'm joined by someone who is passionate about conserving the environment, and he has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to wildlife and history. He currently serves as the manager, conservation, education, and tourism programs at the African Fund for Endangered Wildlife, Giraffe Centre. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Emmanuel Ngumbi is in the building. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
And before we dive into the conversation, a reminder that kama hujanunua kitabu Chasing Ayana, you can join the chase. It's available at Amazon. Also, I'd like to acknowledge the incredible work being done at the Giraffe Centre. It's not only a tourist destination, but also a hub for conservation and environmental conservation. So this is your chance to visit Giraffe Centre. Karibu sana, Mr. Emmanuel.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad you've taken the opportunity to join. At least leo tunaweza zungumza watu wakujue just beyond environmental conservation. Tukujue pale umezaliwa na the journey all along before we enter into environmental conservation. So who is Emmanuel?
Okay, asante. I think I'm very grateful for this chance to be here on this podcast. I know it's been a journey and I've heard about it, but I'm feeling it's real. I'm up for that, and I'm also happy to support you as you start your journey in these episodes. And I believe, based on your potential, you're going to grow.
Amen.
And I may become a big brand in terms of promoting, sustainability, progress in the space of conservation, but also mainly at the global level. So I know it's starting small, say sometimes you think globally, but you have to act locally. So from the local scale, you'll be able to grow and advance ideas to do with global sustainability, conservation and environmental, sustainability at large. So my name is Mr. Emmanuel Ngumbi, but I'm sometimes at the Giraffe Centre, they like calling me Manu. It's like my brand at the Giraffe Centre because of the initials. I grown from tender age, born in the late 70s in Machakos County. As a young boy, I've grown in the rural area. I've had, cows. I've been out playing local football with my peers, like from nursery school.
Twende polepole hapo tujue vizuri venye maisha ilikuwa. So umezaliwa Machakos County. In the late 1970s.
Yes, that's actually say like because that's 1975 to be specific.
When you first born, second born, last born?
No, coming from a big family of 11.
11.
Number 9.
Hey.
So, so I grew, but fortunately, the last born in terms of the boys, and when you are the last born, you have a status within the family. It's based on the African culture, because though you are the youngest, but you take the responsibility of taking care of the family. You need that in terms of inheritance, because you tend to be allocated the years of the dad's farm, so you have to stay from within the homestead. So you might not move out, but that's like your share, and that's I might call it the lion's share in the African culture.
How was life growing up?
I'd say a lot of ups and downs, but we had our moments. The days we didn't have internet like for the millennials and also for the Gen Zs and the alphas, but we born in the days of the radios. Even screens were just a black and white, and our days, we liked radio, and even we didn't have an opportunity to watch football like the way you're watching football on DSTV, but we could listen to the likes of Mambo Mbotela broadcast the football matches, the big ones, the days of Joy Kadenge, the Mulambas, and the like, and we liked it. FC in Gormaya was more big brand names in terms of football in the country. But we also enjoyed our days because we played. We didn't have toys, but we made toys for ourselves. That's for my generation. We were good in using clay. We're using, local materials from, environment to make our own toys to play with. Even football, like stitching together, put it in bags, not that common, but we could invent and be able to make our own football. So that was our beautiful life during those days.
Okay. And then ulianza shule class 1 which year?
I joined standard 1, but then primary school under the Catholic Church called Chambusia Boys Primary School. That is today the Mudadeni Primary or Comprehensive School.
Okay.
So this was a pure boys' school.
School for primary.
For primary school. That's how serious it was, and it was under the Holy Ghost missionaries by then. So it's one of the oldest schools in Machakos County, where big names have also gone through the same school. And it when I joining high school at the primary level, like it was purely boys, and was like
Day
following.
school,
It was a day school.
Yeah,
It was a day school those days, remember? But we followed the Catholic teachings to the latter.
Okay,
so we're lucky for that, yeah.
Ilikuwa zile enzi za kujoin ukipima nini hivi?
Unfortunately, or fortunately, I didn't have to do that test. But I know my older brothers and sisters all the time, they told you had to stretch your hand over here, and then when you can touch you on the other side, then you qualify to join class 1. But I remember we used just to scribble numbers, on the ground, just number 1 to 10, and then A to Z. And then once you can scribble it using your finger on the ground, then you're good to join class 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So life ya primary ilikuwaje?
A bit tough. I like walking almost 2 kilometers to school in the morning and 2 kilometers back home was a challenge. We had to carry lunch, not hot lunch, but we used to prepare our lunch in the morning. You just warm it and you carry it to school and you pray that it doesn't go bad and the like. Then, like carrying water, you had to carry a broom, to school and back. And it was a bit tough, but we enjoyed our days because simple ways and the teachers were good. I know out of a few teachers, they made me who I am today. I think the head teacher by then, Madam and Daka, was so good with us. We used to call her Mama. And then my first teacher, whom I cannot forget, Mrs. Kulemba, who taught me how to write, how to join numbers, and even how to construct, simple words. And from then where I've reached where I am today. Okay. I know nowadays when I was joining, I think our mother tongue used to be taught in almost all the schools in Kenya. Though we dropped that, but I believe mother tongue actually is the main basis to learn the other languages. Yeah. So we mastered that, and it was also it was a tough language to undertake because Kamba language, and I compare it to learning Germany. It has a lot of commands. It has a lot of commands. So putting an apostrophe somewhere, putting a comma, sometimes even the way you write the words, the order, sometimes the pronunciation can change total meaning of a very simple word. So I say Kamba language, though it's my mother tongue, but I find it to be very tough sometimes to write.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at primary level, ulishajua what you want to become
by then?
By then, ama bado?
At primary level, just in the mix.
Okay.
Just in the mix. And during our days, even the parents, the only professions we knew were teachers, probably the accounts clerk. By then, actually, not even like a basa, not even like a finance guy. Those were the common ones. And sometimes people would say, like, you want to become a lawyer. So those were the most common, careers people knew of. And even by class 8, we were still in the mix. You didn't know exactly what to become. And though I picked out from one of my, I'll call him my uncle in Kamba. I say Mwendia. Mwendia is like cousin to my mom.
Okay.
Was by then one of the lecturers at Utali. So in a way, because most of my elder cousins and had joined Utali College, I picked the interest to do with the tourism. But I thought I'll work in hospitality, that's the hotel industry. So I wasn't sure where I am, but I was good in almost all the sciences. I was good in social studies because my late dad was an historian and he also loved religion. So having been a teacher, he taught us a lot of stories and he knew the world history to the toe. So I loved history and geography and sciences, apart from maths, because maths, I think from class six, the teacher who was teaching us maths, like he was too tough. So I hated maths all from that time until probably first year when I joined the university.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So at class 8,
Yeah.
ulisha decide high school taka kujoin ama bado?
Yeah, and those days I thought I'll make it to either Stare
Okay.
or Machakos Boys and the like, the Alliance, because that's always the first choice of most of the students, especially the bright students. I was lucky during my year. We also at Machakos, one of the schools under the Catholic Church, the Machakos Junior Seminary. So towards the end, I decided that's the school I wanted to join. Not that I wanted to become a priest, but because of the morals. I used to serve because, you had to be baptized, you had to be very good in terms of your service to the church, and I was an altar boy.
So,
my life in primary school. So that was one of the qualifications to
So in-
make me join.
primary school umejoin an all boys school
Yeah.
sponsored by the church.
Yes.
Same to high school.
Yes.
Does it define who you are today?
In a big way.
How?
In a big way. I'm still one of the staunch Catholics, and whatever I do, I feel I'm still doing God's work. Because we had the influence. Sometimes I didn't mention it, but the way the missionaries molded us and also the local Catholic priest, every time you failed, you had whatever you wanted to do was a service to God and a service to humanity. And through that, I think what I didn't want to become a teacher, but I didn't also want to become a pure preacher. But in a way, I think the moral upbringings, the value which were instilled in me from the young age and through the high school have made me who I am. So the integrity, value for human life, and also service to humanity.
Now, your other siblings, pia ni staunch Catholics. Kama
Yeah, they are. I think in the family, we are all Catholics, but I think one of my sisters now joined the other side when she got married, the only one. We have a priest, one of my elder brothers from the family. And my parents were staunch also Catholic. So in a way, I'll say we all, we are all, people who respect God and who feel God has been merciful and grateful to our family, and we believe we must, follow what is, stated in the Bible and the like. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So ukijoin form 1. These days kulikuwa na bullying in your school?
I was a little bit lucky, not physical bullying, but I think at the seminary, the main common form of we had to buy, a piece of bread, not full bread, but at least a quarter. I remember those days. So that was the way. And by the time we were joining, I joined the transition class between the foreign missionaries, the Holy Ghost fathers, led by the late Father Mark Mahon, whom we used to call Kingangi. If you like, Kingangi is Kamba word for the crocodile, because he was very still when he was walking. So sometimes you're doing something, Nasia, then in a few minutes, then you turn back and you find the guy is just watching over you. But then I think what was there, they instilled in us the principle of seniority. So we had pathways which were followed by the Form 1s, but the senior students, they had their own pathways. The dormitories, we as Form 1s, we had our own dormitory, while the senior students were mixed from Form 2 to Form 4. They could stay in one dormitory and the like, even at the church. we had a space, or we had a place where Form 1s used to sit as compared to the other students. And we had to respect that. And if as a Form 1, you use a pathway which is supposed to be used by seniors and you got punished, then that was not a case to be handled by the admin. Not a good one. So through that, we've learned, even at the office, the way you ask the first question, then you have to respect where your seniors sit or the privileges they have been allocated. So we respect that and I've grown with that. So you know where your boss is and you know where you're supposed to sit. You know what is expected of you as a junior from the orders you get from your senior and the like. So I'd say that was a big plus for us. There was some, even at the school, we were not being caned as one school. Like we had the freedom to make our choices. You know, the bell, yeah, it's a common thing, yeah, but most of the time, there's teachers and even we call him the principal is more of, at the seminary level, we call him the rector. They could not punish you, like the corporal punishment was not there.
Johnny, surprising because hizo enzi,
Yeah.
all the schools have heard of kulikuwa na corporal punishment. It was still legal by then.
Yeah.
So how comes your school haikuwa?
Maybe it was by default or it was by chance, and this being missionaries, I think we're being taught responsibility. So you take your personal responsibility for whatever you do. I know at certain times, if you went against some of the school's rules, you could be suspended or you could be given a punishment to slash the grass. But corporal punishment was not at all. It wasn't practiced within that school by the teachers nor the principal by then.
So how was high school life? Did you enjoy it?
I enjoy it much. Academically, I say every time, wherever I've been, academically, I've loved academics. And I think that school gave us the space to, you know, to excel in terms of academics. I remember our days, I might not compare to the current status, but during our days, Popol's, the 6th junior seminary in Machakos, used to be among the top 40 schools in the country. So in terms of performance, and I know it produced quite a number of senior people within the country. And we loved, you know, doing our studies and we loved to excel in different subjects. And even at the district, by then now, like the county level, I know a few subjects like Kiswahili, which are taught by a Tanzanian teacher or a teacher from Tanzania, agriculture, biology. We used to be like tops within the Machakos County. So that's my pride of being in that school. So again, the diet was also good. Yeah, the diet, yes, nakula vizuri. Though lunch hour was, we used to call it, more, I won't call it ugali per se, but we call it nzenga. It's like in between the normal number one sifted unga and grade 4 or 5 or now githeri. So we call it nzenga. Then, you know, having a diet of like meat was not, you know, like it was like an everyday thing. We used to have bread and chai. I think a third of a bread for your breakfast. Not all the days, but we also had days for uji. But we loved our school, our diet, and the like. And in terms of sports, again, I think I had time also to play football and also basketball. But I excelled more in basketball than football because of my height, again, and also because I started playing basketball from a young age, having grown in Mudadeni Primary or the Chambuse Primary School, which shares the same compound with the Mudadeni Girls High School. And we had a very good, you know, concrete kind of a, you know, basketball court. So I started playing basketball from a tender. So at least I had a chance to play in the school basketball team in Form 3 and also Form 4. Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so uko almost kumaliza high school sasa.
Yes.
At this time uko na clarity on what you want to do or become, or not yet?
But then, yes, I wanted to become a doctor. I think that was either my first or my second choice. And then I also chose a course in a Greek. And then the last one, can I remember really what it was all about? I think there's that, and then pharmacy, and then I chose a course in environment.
Okay.
Yeah. So I learned, but I knew like I thought all through because I was very good in biology and chemistry.
So
I
mbona uko
knew
unataka kuwa daktari?
kutaka kuwa daktari.
Mbona?
It was, I think, one of the best professions by then, and also again to serve humanity once again. So I thought I'd be able to join it, but I had fear, like the way doctors are trained, and sometimes I had the fear of going through that tough training in terms of I'll say like being at the morgue or operating people, so that in a way could give me some chills, but still I wanted to pursue medicine. I was lucky at the school level. Actually, I was they used to call, the title was infirmarian. Like I was the one handling the drugs for the students when they just simple first aid, not a first aid per se, but at least I used to manage the school, um, medical department. Maybe I might scale it. So that's a small clinic, and I worked under one of the nurses at the Bishop Kyoko Hospital. Was by then a nurse by the name Sister Domitila. So it guided me, and I felt this should be my field.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Then so results zikikuja, uliperform aje, ama hiyo ndo time sasa ukaamua kuingia into environment?
Not really. Results ikikuja, I was number 3. I think I missed out. I think I had a B. Was it a B plus? That was a direct qualification to the university. But then I knew I had chosen what I had chosen in terms of the courses I wanted to pursue. But even up to there, I was still at the mercy of the admission board, the university admission board by then, to wait for my fate and know the course I'd be able to join. Yeah. So I just lucky. I know I've made it to the university, but I wasn't sure what I'll be admitted to the university to do and which university. So I made selection of courses mainly at the University of Nairobi, and I think one from the Moi University by then, because there were not many universities in the country that time. I think there were about even less than 10. Yeah, yeah.
So during this period kuna kwanga na hiyo gap year before you join the university.
Yes.
So at this time, what were you doing?
I said I tried also to apply for, used to like part-time teaching at the rural secondary school, but I didn't get a chance. So I stayed at home for some time. I helped just the normal duties at home as I waited for my admission. I remember by then we used to spend like one full year. So at least that one stayed out, and also I helped my brother that's the time I was coming to Nairobi now, who was running a small shop as part of his side hustle because he was still working in the hotel industry by then.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think I almost spent 6 months at my rural home. So that time you're just busy. You can read your novels. You can go like just the daily, normal duties at the rural homes, like, plowing, cultivating, looking after your home or your family, cattle and the like. But that did not bother because I knew in a few months I'll be joining the campus. But if I got a chance, I could have taught in some of the high schools. So I tried, but I wasn't that lucky to get a chance to teach. But I also, at the same time, I was also mentoring some of the young, villagers who are still in primary or high school, coaching them on how they can be able to perform well in terms of the academics. So that was also a plus. And also at the church, I also helped also to mentor the youth members again in terms of the Catholic teachings and the like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So admission ikakuja during this period. Which course?
I was admitted at the University of Nairobi to pursue a course in Bachelor of Science in Range Management. So I got confused because even by then I didn't know what range it all involved. And I remember making a few calls to try to find out what is this cause and what does it entail. Because to me, and the common word was like ranching is a common word in Ukambani because of the cattle ranches. And I feel like, wow, am I going now to pursue a cause where I'll be forced to work in a ranch? Then when I joined Kamba, still not sure, though I might have moved a bit fast. And I remember going to see the dean of students and trying to find out what is this cause. And I wanted to change to move to main campus because that was in Kabete campus, Upper Kabete. We used to call it Kabete Ngombe because it's affiliated with the agricultural causes. So I remember trying to make my changes because by then, even when we're joining, I thought, oh, calculus is tough. You cannot make it. And I didn't want to do maths again. But I went there and I know a few, people whom we had been admitted together, they managed to do the inter-faculty transfers. But I decided when I found it's both management of both wildlife and livestock, and it was a broad course, then I decided that's the course I wanted to pursue because I knew I'll be able now to pursue my interest in wildlife conservation or the environment.
Okay. Yeah. So this is now your first time
Yes.
in gear class in both boys and girls.
Uh-huh.
Is it surprising to you? Kuna any culture shock?
Yeah, quite tough because this is a time, like you're getting now into a mixed kind of a learning institution setup.
Yeah.
Like the thing, though we were all mature, but it also felt awkward because it's something we are not used to, but that's part of campus life. You learn the tricks, you learn how to survive, you learn how to interact with the girls and learn together. And we made it through. So I managed to settle, down and I still pursue my course quite well.
Okay. Hostel?
Yes. I think our days we all stayed in the hostels. Apart from one colleague who was an Asian, I think all the students who are admitted to the university, we had enough spaces to stay in campus hostels. Yeah. So and life was cheap.
For all your 4 years, uliishi hostel?
Kabisa.
Okay. Ilikuwaje life ya hostel sasa?
Hostels, life was good. The comrade life, being together. We had the strength in terms of, being comrades and the like. But then even meals were cheap. Though sometimes we also used to cook in the hostels, which was also sometimes illegal. But I remember even the days when Kenya Power used to ration power. People, like they made a protest, moving from campus in buses, going to protest outside the Kenya Power offices. And power within the University of Nairobi could not be rationed because guys, they're not worried about the study much, but even cooking, because we used to cook like using those simple juakali electric, cookers and the like. So power could not be rationed within the university. So campus life was good. I think we had our
early 90s.
That was late 90s because I joined campus in the year 1996.
1996.
Yes. Yeah, that was still Moi's regime days. Life it wasn't easy, but school fees was affordable. But it was quite unfortunate because we didn't have like the parallel program and people weren't meted based on the number of spaces within each university. And I know of many, classmates and even my age mates who missed out to join university because of the cutoff, and sometimes, like missing a point, condemned you to another life because you could not make it to life. So it was so prestigious to join, especially the public universities. Yeah, so at least you feel like you have a certain status in the society and people respected you for that. But again, because of the education system by then, a lot of people were condemned, to pursue careers which they didn't aspire because they only missed out on either 1 point or 2 points to make it to the cutoff for the university.
Okay. Yeah. So, may graduate now in which year?
I graduated in the year 2000.
2000.
Yeah.
2000 nilikuwa nazaliwa sasa. Okay. So after 2000 now, umeanza kutafuta job.
Yes.
You're lucky to get a job immediately.
I'll say both because I tried a few applications. I think World Vision. I even wrote a proposal to do marketing research for them at Makuyu. I remember with my former classmate. She's now a doctor, Dr. Sija, one of the senior, you know, research scientists at ICRAV, if I may call it so, the World Agro-Ecosystem actually in organization. And out of that, I tried my application in a number of institutions, including Save the Elephants. I wasn't lucky to get through because by then I remember, I think I had not, taken a course in computer study. Like,
Okay.
having a certificate in computer training, live about your days now was an added advantage.
Okay.
So just a basic
Every
Windows.
computer
Yeah,
packages.
yes, just a basics one. Yeah, so I missed them, but I know we had been engaging from my days in campus, just, writing to them and waiting for the opportunity. Then I was invited for an interview and then I missed out. Probably God didn't want me to work with elephants because they're too big probably for me. So the second place I tried, I know other than the other application I sent, and I didn't want to join the government by that
Why?
time. It was not paying very well. And that's, remember again, I think the regime by then, they had freezed employment at the public service, I think from the late 90s. So people who did agree related courses, they were not given a priority or a chance to join the public
Why?
service. The economy was bad. With the days of the structural adjustment programs where the government, had been put under a lot of pressure by the World Bank to, like scale down the civil service and even to privatize the parastatals. It's not new. I know the current regime, I think, brought that proposal, but during Moi's time, it also happened. But I say it with the structural adjustment program, it was the worst time when guys were given what was called the golden handshake, and some people and families have never recovered out of that.
Mkugoma.
Tuligoma, I think all my days in campus, I think I went home every semester apart from when I was in fourth year. And my group, I think, were too rowdy and we knew our rights. So every time, but sometimes it was tricky because towards the exam time, students will always create something. Probably they're afraid of the exam or sometime because of the higher education loans board sometime. But towards the end of the semester, guys have already consumed all their money and they want to have an excuse to go home. So sometimes I know we went home even in terms of political uprising. So I know we had a bit of it with the Gen Zs, but we also tough. I think was sent home during Saba Saba, the Nane Nane and the like. So in my days in campus, I've experienced strike. And I remember as my mom, I think she passed on in the year 2024. And when I was going to campus, she always prepared me and told me, I know when you go to campus, students like to go on strike, but don't be left behind because when you're left behind in the hostels, the askaris will clobber you. Then when you're in the front line again, you will easily be picked by, like the university administration, like you are leading the strike. And then when you are in the middle, the students who are leading the line will always be throwing stones to you so that you can be able to hurry. And even the police, when they want to disperse you, sometimes the only way to do it is by making sure they shoot the tear gas so that it falls in between the crowd and then you can disperse. So that confusion. But I say even our vice chancellor by then, Professor Gishaga, very, fatherly figure for us at the campus by then. Sometimes she could come out and try to meet us and calm us down. Or sometimes she'll pretend she is joining us in the streets. So he used to join you sometimes. Then we tell the guys, just as they block the university way, let's negotiate. And he played it very well during his days, and we really loved him. So university riots and strikes have been part and parcel of my life, but I also learned because a few things. And then we fought for democracy. We fought for Karura. And if you can be able to get the clip, and probably you get that newspaper which did the story, and there is a tractor which, like knocked the gate down. That was commandeered by my fellow classmate and campus mate, because the University of Nairobi was big. And Wangari Maathai, I remember, with Orengo, they joined us. So we were fighting for a worth cause to save Karura Forest. And I know we were clobbered, and we saved what we could for Karura Forest. So of late, when I see we want to go back to those days, then it really pains me. Because my days is days when, before you mention some names, you had to look over your shoulder, like who is behind you. Otherwise, you will be whisked out and utasemea mbele. So it wasn't very easy. But there are times also, Moi was also a very calm present. He was tough. We feared him. But there are times when we wanted to get a good meal, guys will block, the State House Road, and Moi would come and, like the motorcade would stop and ask my children, what do you want? And we just tell him, we want a good meal. So he'll, like instruct the university, atuchinjie ng'ombe, itakuwa na chapo na soda. So I liked it, yes. Despite the fact that, we also like gave a government a run for their, their security guys, the police with their batons and the like. But Moi he was loved, by the youth, because he was a father. So he could calm down and listen to us and tell us, if kama ni hiyo, I'll sort it out. Because I remember, though, I've joined the parallel program because that's how I did my master's. I might have jumped, but during our days, they wanted to introduce parallel programs when we were in second or third year, because universities had to be innovative enough to generate income to run their programs. And one of the ways, which was more of a brainchild of Dr. Julius Kimngetich, one of my mentors and people I look upon for guidance. Even the way he behaves actually is the brainchild of parallel program. That's what we used to call, through the SWA, the Student Welfare Association of the University of Nairobi. And you see now, this is a program which was replicated by almost all the universities until the time when Matiang'i was the CS for the education. So I'll say those are my days in campus, the riots and the like. I remember the Saba Saba, the Nane Nane. I think a time when one of our student leaders, died in the hostels, and it was reported that he committed suicide, but he died under very mysterious circumstances, and we also rioted in a way, and also riot against the increase in the university's fees and also the parallel program. So those are a few. Karura was also another big, fight for almost all the universities in Kenya, but I know UON and the KU were leading, because we wanted to save the urban green space for generation to come. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So strike haijaanza.
Yeah.
Haijaanza nini juzi?
Haijaanza juzi, Gen Z bado sisi tulikuwa. Hata sisi tulikuwa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So turudi back to 2000, bado na apply job. Your first job ilikuwa wapi?
I say it wasn't the job per se, but the first opportunity I got was with the African Fund for Endangered Wildlife Kenya, the Giraffe Centre. So I joined Giraffe Centre as an intern for 2 months. I think that was around July, August, September in the year. Was it 2000 again? Yeah. Then I was out for almost another 6 months when they recalled me back to join them again as a casual. So I worked as a casual between, again, I remember that happened after the World Cup of 2002.
So your main roles zilikuwa gani as an intern and a casual?
Mainly guiding, visitors to the Giraffe Centre, teaching students, like now in terms of environmental education, like schools coming to the center, we had to host and teach them about wildlife, about the giraffes, and a few basics on how to promote conservation through their learning institutions. At that time, I also participated in a number of workshops, but first I also attended the workshop of training of trainers on education for sustainability. And that's how I became one of the experts. I say I always carry my certificate with me when people ask me, because I was first mentored and trained as a TOT before I could now be given a chance to start now handling some of the topics during our training of trainers workshops. And again, animal welfare, just preparing the right ration for the giraffes, looking at their welfare when they fell sick and the like, and also taking care of the Giraffe Centre sanctuary. So those are like my main roles during that period of internship and also as a casual. Yeah.
Then after casual?
After casual, I think I got my first full employment in the year 2003. Usually my first letter of appointment reads January 1st, 2003. So I became an assistant conservation education officer at the Giraffe Centre.
Ulikuwa unalipwa ngapi hizo? Ama huwezi disclose?
No, it's not a secret. I know my first salary was 25,000. That one I can recall by then. But it was enough to help me probably pay for my rent, buy my clothes, and also support my young siblings at school. So I'd say it wasn't too big, and also make some savings through the Kewisco by then at one of the circles which serves organizations who are in the conservation space. Yeah, so it wasn't much, but I say it was a good starting point. Yeah, that's where I started from.
To deviate kidogo, but tutarudi hapo.
Asante.
Tuende now into your life. Umefikiria about starting a family at this time? Bado.
By that time, no. Yeah, because remember I told you, coming from a family of 11, I lost my dad at a young age when I was in class 6. And then through that, we had our eldest brother was supporting us. So it was also a chance to chip in and support my 2 young sisters who are still in school, and also one of the son to my eldest sister in the family. So at least hiyo time unasema pia you also want to enjoy your money, uenjoy pesa yako kidogo.
Kwani ukiwa utaenjoy pesa?
No, sometimes you also need your space. Once uenjoy maisha kidogo.
Yeah.
Before unjifunge kimaisha. That's why you say pingu za maisha. So I had time, but I know I was still planning in 2 or 3 years time. Then I'll be able now to settle down, to become a family man.
Okay, so you settle down when?
Nilikakaa kidogo, but by 2006, that's the time I settled down. So now nimechukua almost 6 years again to settle down. But for guys like you, I tell them, and even the people I'm mentoring, I tell them, where you can settle early.
Why?
The reason, it gives you time towards your old age and retirement to have time for yourself and also the family. Yeah, but again, don't settle if you are not ready. Like because of peer pressure you want to settle. But your generation, naona mnapenda starehe sana. Now utaki kujifunga again. But our days, like it was like the society expects of you. Yeah. And when you go home and you meet your shushu, if your shushu is there, when you go home, kila siku ukienda nakuuliza umekuja tu peke yako, and them they push you, but I always say don't settle because the society expects or the family expects of you. Take your time, settle at the right time, and commit, when you become a family man or a family lady, so that you can now start establishing your own empire as Roy or as Emmanuel. Other than when 2 or 3 days down the line, then you detach again and you start off again, because it also drags you, and psychologically it also affects you, and you also don't want to bring people in this world whom you cannot be able to take care of, because it's actually a God-given responsibility. So don't force God to punish you because you brought on board a being whom you cannot take care of. That's what I usually say. Yeah. Yeah, usingie box haraka. Na pia enjoy your money at that time, and it's good to enjoy your days of your youth, but with a balance. Again, we also don't want you, like at my age, you find now I'm going back clubbing again with the young one. So it means I'm not respectable I cannot be able to command the same respect within the society. Nasema we mzee kijana. But you don't want to go into that. That's why you need to enjoy days of your youth, so that when you settle now, you grow as a responsible man or your days of your life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now to really back now in 2003,
Asante. Yes.
your first official job.
Mhm.
Take us through your life journey hapo kwa job from 2003
Mhm.
up to now when umekuwa now the manager.
Uh-huh.
From tuambie venye growth ilikuwa na the
Sawa.
roles you're
So
doing.
I remember 2003, that's a time now, like now I'm going to a permanent job, but still in the same organization. You're given responsibilities other than what you are given during your internship or casual period. So you had to take responsibility, and I was assigned to manage the ecological trip, which targets the poor children from the poor backgrounds of Nairobi and its environs. So that's a program I continued from 2003 to around 2006 there. That's time now was now when other junior staff joined. Now I mentored them and I let them take up the program. So it's one of the toughest program to coordinate because now you have to get in touch with the schools who are supposed to participate in this. We have to vet them so that they meet the right criteria, so that people don't just take on it because they know there's a program and start, charging or taking advantage of the Giraffe Centre. You had to vet the schools. You had to engage with the service providers, the transport providers, people who are offering this, the catering services. You have also to liaise with the places of interest in Nairobi, the Shedricks, the Daffy Shedricks, the Mamba Village, the KWS, to make the booking so that you don't cause confusion or you don't take a group and then you're turned back again. And sometimes all these things, you have to be very alert and it must be well coordinated. And I remember my days, if there were any lapses, probably not more than 10, I remember. So again, now became a full trainer. I started training teachers on environmental education. And later when in 2005, education for sustainable development became big and was now approved by the UN, now especially through the UNESCO, to take root within the global space. Then I think we changed, our tactics a little bit so that we can be able now to start training teachers on how they can integrate environmental aspects into the school curriculum. So that was a plus. And I also coordinated the AFU environmental awareness competition, including the safaris. I remember I was very new in 2003, and I was given the responsibility to lead 2 safaris, one for the primary school winners and one for the high school winners. But it was new to me because
The
I had not.
competition ilianza way early.
Yes, it ends way early. So I think the competition started around, I think, in the late 90s before even I joined the Giraffe Centre. So this was new. So setting the questions, marking the questions, coming up with the winners, organizing for the prize giving day. And it's a big event for Giraffe Centre when everybody's coming, to celebrate with you the World Environmental Day and also to see you award the winners. And then now leading the safari at the national level is something big. And I also made it through. So I stayed together with my former boss, who was also a mentor, Madam Zippy, we call it so, but she's Zipporah Musyoki, but to the center we used to referring her to as Zippy. She's the one who mentored us in all these aspects. So at least by the time she left, because I also used to help with the compiling of the reports, coordinating some of the programs, especially during our days of taking her annual leave. And when she resigned from the Giraffe Centre, a chance arose and it was open for grabs, and we had to sit for an interview. And because of the experience, just a short experience which I had, and by then I actually just started my master's. Then I got it, or I got the opportunity because in terms of my academic qualification, in terms of my experience, because I joined Giraffe Centre 1 year ahead of, now it's Dr. George at the Wildlife Clubs of Kenya, one of my close friends in conservation. So that's how I was able just to score a little bit higher as compared to George. And we work together now to lead, like now the new Giraffe Centre, which is led by but then we used to be called the .coms. Now live about now the Gen Zs and the alphas. For us,
Yeah.
it was the .com because that's the time when computers were finding their way into the global space again. So I happen now to be promoted to become the head of, the conservation education department from around 2008.
So umeserve
Yeah.
that long.
Yes.
Challenges zimekuwa gani?
A few challenges here and there. Managing humans sometimes is also tough.
Kati ya
And
kumanage humans na giraffes. Gani rahisi?
yeah, gani rahisi. Maybe I'll say the giraffes.
Why?
Because the giraffes, like it's like a routine. It can be tough, but though they're not conscious of what is expected of them, but you can control them. But you can. It's hard to control humans because humans come with their own expectations. Also, they come from different backgrounds and the like, and to be able to have that mix of people coming from different backgrounds, especially in our country, and also in terms of our qualifications, managing from the groundsmen all the way to the senior staff, it also comes with a lot of expectation and also a lot of responsibilities and also challenges. But if you can be able to put all these different people together and have a team, then that is your win. That is your win. And as a leader, it's not always like you are leading the way, but you have to work with the people. I think that's my principle. And most of the time I say, I try to apply the principle of mentorship because you have to help people to become better than you. Because that has been a principle at the Giraffe Centre, and we've tried to, perfect, this principle to the latter. And I remember former chairman, it's a challenge you always pose to us. Like you have always to keep it very simple and very, say, sometimes you say it's stupid or smart. And they say like, if you know your strategy and you know the direction you want to take and your target, don't lose sight of that target. You keep on moving, but using the same, roadmap which you have set, other than when you are doing, because the book say, or another organization is doing this, but they say it, keep it within what Giraffe Centre culture says or what it states, and through that we've been able to perfect a lot. So not a lot of expectation. We know this is what we want, take the route, and then that's why I say keep it just very simple. And I've learned a lot. We met a lot of people through my years at the Giraffe Centre, more than 20 years. I have a lot of senior staff within big conservation organization, including the Kenya Wildlife Service. I have young men running their own nature enterprises, especially in the tourism, space. I've had guys who trained in tourism, but they ended up doing green, energy, enterprises, and they're really doing well and they don't regret. So when I see people excelling, even teachers who were trained, some older than me, some almost my age mates, and we can see from the training at the Giraffe Centre, we've been able to inspire them, or have been able to inspire them to become senior lecturers in this country. And I'm not afraid to mention some of the names, like Dr. Chiao at the Strathmore University is now the dean of the faculty of tourism and hospitality. Because I've seen David grow from just being a normal high school teacher to now the dean of that faculty at the University of Nairobi. Sorry, the Strathmore University. We have Parita Shah, who was actually teaching at Osho Jain Primary School, just a mere primary school teacher rising to the level of becoming a senior lecturer at the University of Nairobi, among many others. I have in NEMA, I have quite a number. Mr. Maniafu, now the County Director of Environment at Kiambu County, formerly served at Homa Bay County and also Bungoma County. So those are some of the senior people. I have Washington Washira, who is now running his own entity in cysticola, safaris. I think specializes in ontology, ontological safaris, and is doing quite well. And many others. I know Elizabeth Wathuti, one of the well-known youth members when it comes to climate change and advocacy. And then she's gone through also the internship program at the Giraffe Centre. So we train them. Couldn't fail to mention John Henry. We did so many, environmental related programs together during his days at campus as a student and even up to date, at the Nazarene University. So I'm proud when I see most of my young students grow. And through the internship program, I think almost my juniors, apart from one, these are people I've mentored and now become senior officers at the Giraffe Centre because we have to be proud, not like favorism, but we pick the best in terms of the people who pass through our internship program or attachment program. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Again, most people wanajua Giraffe Centre kama maybe tourist destination wanakuja kuona giraffe.
Yeah.
But it is more than that.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe you can enlighten us more about Giraffe Centre na kila kitu inafanya.
Okay, Giraffe Centre is an entity of the African Fund for Endangered Wildlife. It was started way back in 1979 by a couple by the name Jock and Betty. They happened to hear about the Rothschild giraffes. Of late, they also been called the Nubian giraffes, who are losing their original habitat of farming in the western part of Kenya. So they relocated the giraffes first by fundraising and establishing the African Fund for Endangered Wildlife USA and AFU Kenya. And with the Kenya Wildlife Service, they were credited with saving the Rothschild giraffe from becoming extinct in this world. So they moved the giraffes to Lake Nakuru, some to Rumania, Lake Victoria, Nasalot National Park. We had them in Mwea, and recently we have introduced some of the Rothschild giraffes in Kigio, Sagoit, and Ruko Conservancy. So since the 1979, when they rescued the first giraffe, at first it was just to save the giraffes from becoming endangered or becoming extinct. But they also had a dream to start a nature education center, and they built the first nature education center in independent Africa. Now the Giraffe Centre, which by then was called the Langata Nature Education Center. And then they dedicated this center to the Kenyan going students, the youth members, and up to date, students still come to the Giraffe Centre for free. We educate them about conservation. We give them a chance to interact with the giraffes. They can watch a video about wildlife conservation and do a nature walk within the Giraffe Centre sanctuary. Again, when they opened the center in 1983, because they had to open it to the public so that they can use it as an avenue to fundraise for conservation. They only received about 800 students during the first year, but over the years, Giraffe Centre has grown in popularity, and of late, we receive more than 50,000 students in a year who come in through our gates for free, but to learn about conservation. The tourism enterprise is more of a support kind of enterprise. I won't call it like it's the core focus of the Giraffe Centre, because our core function is to promote conservation through education. But Rothschild giraffes happen to be like our flagship species. So we can use the Rothschild to raise money through the tourism, enterprise. But much of that money is plowed back to conservation, either to run the programs at the center and to support many other conservation organizations within the country, including the Kenya Wildlife Service. We have Mount Kenya Trust, we have the Kuruitu, Conservancy down, the coastal ecosystem of Kenya. We have the Watam Marine Association, among many others. So about 20% of the total income is given out to other conservation organizations to help, promote conservation of other endangered wildlife in the country. And then the other third program is now the breeding and the rewilding program of the Rothschild giraffes. So we breed the giraffes at the Giraffe Centre, and after 2 to 3 years, we translocate most of the young ones and take them back to the wild in places where we have other members of the same, subspecies, like Nakuru, Ruma, Mwea Game Reserve, Sagoit, Ruko, among other areas where we have members of the Rothschild giraffes. So the population by 1979 1979 was only 130 members left in western part of Kenya. But today we have more than 1,200 roster giraffes in Kenya. Still low compared to the other two souths, which are more than 10,000, individuals in the country. But we still pride ourselves, to have increased the numbers from 130 members to about 1,200 from the last census, which was done by the Kenya Wildlife Service. Yeah. So the main program, I'd say there are only three, promoting conservation education with a target on environmental education and education for sustainability or sustainable development, then breeding and translocating or rewilding of the roster giraffes back to the wild, and then, providing a conservation financing to other conservation organizations in the country, especially the ones who are biased towards promoting conservation of endangered wildlife species. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. Also, can you talk about the program, the easy competition?
Okay, so under the conservation education program, we have a number of other programs we run. I think including, I always talked about the school-based conservation program where schools can book to come to the Giraffe Centre to learn about conservation. I didn't mention, but schools are allowed to visit the Giraffe Centre between Monday and Friday, between 9 o'clock to 12. But they must book 1 week in advance.
Okay.
1 week in advance, and they get the free entry to the Giraffe Centre. We also run the ecology trip program, which I earlier mentioned, which I coordinated during my first years at the Giraffe Centre, which targets students from the slums of Nairobi or the poor backgrounds of Nairobi and these environs. So this is a program where we select certain learning institution or the children's home and sometimes the children rehabilitation centers. We sponsor these students for a 1-day outing to Nairobi National Park, the David Shedricks, Mamba Village, and also they come to the Giraffe Centre. So it's a big outing for them. Giraffe Centre pays for their entry fees. We provide their transport, and we also serve them hot lunch. It's a big treat for them, but indirectly an educator must accompany them so that he can help them to realize the current environmental challenges which we are facing in the country and open up opportunities for them, or now even as young students or youth members, or now they can support the government effort or the global efforts towards promoting environmental sustainability within our planet. Then thirdly, we also run an essay competition, essay and art, the environmental awareness competition. I also talked about it during my previous discussion, and this is a program which is open to the kindergarten to the universities. So students every January to March, they are given a chance to take part in this competition, which is based on a certain theme, based on the challenges which the world or the countries are facing. And they can attempt the questions which we set in the different learning levels from the basic education level to the universities. They can also do artworks. And sometimes we have also had photography as one of the categories. We mark the work, and during the first week of June, we invite the best performing students to come and celebrate with us during the World Environmental Day. And for last year and this year, we want to celebrate our own, and that's the giraffe. So we'll now be celebrating it during the World Giraffe Day, which will be on June 21st. But in the previous years, more than 30 years, this day has been celebrated during the World Environmental Day. So students come, we crown the best boy and the best girl for the competition as our Master and Miss Environment, whom we expect to become the ambassadors on behalf of the other youth members. The other students, they win trophies, and some of them, we have consolation prizes for them. And during the long holiday in December, we sponsor the top 25 students in primary and the top 25 students in high school to go for 1 week camping safari around most of the national parks in Kenya. While for the tertiary students, we have a weekend outing for them. Though this year, we were able to extend the days by almost extra 2 days, so they did 5 days.
Yeah.
And they usually go for their safari during January and February when they're just starting their new semester for the academic year. So it's a big treat for these students, but an educator must accompany them when they're going on safari. so that he can or she can enlighten them about our rich, heritage in terms of biodiversity and also challenges which we are facing as a country. And for the youth members, it's also an opportunity to expose them and give them a platform where they can be able to hear, their strategies on how they feel they can contribute to help the world realize sustainable conservation of wildlife or general environment. Yeah.
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 And of course, we have one of our winners. Yeah. Last year.
Yeah.
Anton.
Yeah.
Maybe akuje atuambie importance of participating in that essay and how the trip was and why one should participate in the essay.
Okay, karibu.
Okay, so I participated in the essay for the 2025 tertiary competition. Of course, as a university student, the essay, I wrote an essay actually, and I got to one. I became position 2 in tertiary. So why you should participate? First of all, you get a lot of exposure. And also while doing the essay, you get to research and learn more about the environment. Not only that, you'll also get a chance to visit Giraffe Centre, get to see and feed the giraffes, of course, for free. Then aside from that, okay, I won a trophy, I got a certificate, I had a bag, such merchandise like the bottle, and also like a 1 week camping safari trip, which we went to Mombasa just like 2 weeks ago. So the whole experience was nice. In Mombasa, we got to sleep in Lele Hotel. We visited places like Arabuko Sokoke, Shimba Hills, and the others. Most of them have been well captured by a podcast which will be shared, but yeah. Any other thing I'm missing out?
Why participate?
Why participate?
Mhm.
Okay, you get to meet a lot of people, you get to know new faces, you get to connect and make new connections with, like in a period of 4 days, I made like 25 new connections, and these are people who I've never met before, and they're from different fields. They get to challenge you and you get to know more about their background. I got lucky to become the president of the group, and so I got to interact with each and every one of them. Yeah.
Tukimalizia, au mtu ana participate aje kwa this competition?
Okay, the competition is out right now.
Yeah.
I think we share the posters with different learning institutions in the country, if not all, but at least a good number. For those whom we can't reach through the physical, distribution of the posters, then the competition is, on our website right now. So they can, click and open the current competition, which is now 2026 AFU Environmental Awareness Competition. They can download the poster and attempt the questions they wish. It's open, I think, for people to participate in both essay writing and also artwork. Whether you are in high school, whether you're in primary, for the kindergarten, they are only restricted to participate in the artwork only. Yeah, okay. But for the other people, and I won't be able to disclose how we select our master and Miss Environment, but try your luck, and you never know where this one will get you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And now, what are the current environmental challenges we face?
Globally or at the national level?
Tuanze na nation, then globally.
Okay, it's tough, but I know in terms of wildlife, Kenya is known to have the best legal documents in the world, probably. But the only problem we face is when it comes to the implementation. We are smart Kenyans, and sometimes we outsmart ourselves. So everything is well outlined through Environmental Management and Coordination Act, which forms like the basis, like the constitution for the environment. It's also well outlined within our constitution, which borrows from MCA. Our constitution is it chapter 10 and the Bill of Rights. I think that's chapter 6. I think it's section 42. It talks about, the Bill of Rights talks about you have a right to a clean and healthy environment. Yeah. But we tend to stop there. But I like to remind every Kenyan, it continues and says we also have a responsibility to take care of the same.
Yeah.
So we can't wait for the government to act. And recently I've been voicing, the state of the Nairobi County environment. I know the West, it's an eyesore sometimes, and I've been appealing. And I think the last post I did on LinkedIn and also Facebook, and I reached out to a few colleagues or friends who are in the county government. They acted and they cleaned the mess around St. Peter Clevers. But every morning I pass there, I always find someone has brought another heap of garbage there. So we might blame the current Nairobi, county government. We might blame the government for not doing enough. But what is our responsibility as Kenyans? So I say Kenyans need to take responsibility. So sometimes I don't like using the word ignorance, and I hope it won't appear in this podcast, but I say it's a level of awareness.
Yeah.
It's the level of awareness. Sometimes it's low, but we also not very quick to take responsibility to act. So we are the beings, and if they're not there, I better carry my waste with me. And even from the household level, we need to promote proper waste management, whether in the urban areas or in the rural areas. So we take responsibility so that we can be able to dispose our waste quite well. Sometimes you can also refuse. You don't have to take a polythene bag or a gunny bag if you can use a kiondo. It's not a must. You take that. And then we also know, I know a bit of consumerism, especially with the middle level and high level income areas. Sometimes we purchase things which we don't need to purchase or which of no value actually to our lives. And that's also affecting our country. So we should get what we can be able to consume and not give nature, tough time to try to manage our mess in terms of the waste which you are generating. Again, in terms of actually planning, especially the urban planning, and also the rural urban planning, again, a lot is also happening. And is the government ready to act within the law? Once again, we've seen it in wildlife spaces. I've seen the challenge, especially in most of the protected areas, because as we know, the sole responsibility of managing wildlife lies with the KWS. But they are like custodians on behalf of the other Kenyans. But it's quite, interesting because the government has only created 10% of our total land service area to be protected areas in regards to the national protected parks and reserves. And then 75% to 80% of wildlife is found outside the government protected area. And in this space, wildlife interact with people and the people's livestock, from now and then. And when people and wildlife live side by side, then conflicts will always be bound to happen. But are we always ready when such conflicts happen that we are able to act within the law as a government, either to push back the wildlife or to help people to appreciate wildlife, like it is stated in the new wildlife, Management and Conservation Act 2013. I know it's still under review. We're waiting for the, us and through, the State House and see whether we'll have a new Wildlife and Management Act. But people sometimes feel wildlife is like a liability to them and not an asset. But we need to make wildlife pay better than even other competing land uses like agriculture, mining, and the like. And it's within the Wildlife Act and even the Constitution, we can be able to do so by embracing community-based conservation. And that's why we are like the Kenya Wildlife Conservancy Association is trying to advocate for this, and it's the only way, because though we've lost, they say over the last 4 decades, we've lost more than 70% of our total wildlife in Kenya. But in areas where community-based wildlife conservation or community forest, conservation approaches have been adopted, either within our country or the, African continent, then wildlife numbers have been increasing. You can get it from the literature and confirm my words, whether it's true or not. I know in the South African countries, Zimbabwe and Zambia, South Africa, their numbers have been increasing because they utilize wildlife. I'm not advocating for direct utilization, but In Kenya, in Amboseli, Masai Mara, Laikipia, we've been advocating, and it has been adopted in one way or another through the wildlife conservancies. People are managing wildlife and utilizing wildlife indirectly, either through the tourism enterprise, businesses based in wildlife, or some of the associations, especially Northern Rangeland Trust, the KWCA, they've been advocating for this, and wildlife conservancies have been given more power to utilize the resources within their land. They can lease the land to investors, not selling the land. They can lease and convert their land value into their shares, so that when at the end of the year they are declaring dividend, then they get a portion of the income the investors are able to generate. So that's the only way. Otherwise, if we can't do so, people will sell the land, they'll subdivide the land. They see wildlife as a liability once again, and they start deteriorating, like it has been happening in a few of the wildlife, protected areas, or areas which are adjacent to the protected areas. So that's another challenge in conservation. Again, the youth members, I don't feel they very much involved, and we tapping into their energy. And also in terms of their innovation and the ability and skills in terms of ICT, or we'll call it the internet and the social media space. So we can still do more, and I like to congratulate you for that, for thinking about this podcast. And I'm not forcing you, or I'm not advocating or trying to convert you to do it for the environmental space, but we need many more youth members to, run or to generate content to do with promoting environmental conservation. But the government doing enough? Last week I was at Nairobi CBD, and I know we have all the young men with cameras there. And then I try to engage with them along Kenyatta Avenue. We have very great monuments there, very rich history in terms of the buildings, in terms of, the monuments again. But I was surprised none of them knew what was behind their background. And I offered to educate them a little bit, not just to engage with them, and told them, yeah, you can have the camera, you can approach me to take a photo of me, but I want to know what is behind me. So and I know I've reached out to a few lecturers at the KU, Strathmore University of Nairobi, and who are feeling the National Museums of Kenya, the government of Kenya, the local government, and our learning institution, the higher education units, they need to do more in terms of training these guys to become professional content creators for this country, to promote our tourism or to promote our heritage. So I feel this is a resource which is not being tapped to the maximum. That's why we had the uprising probably last year, but we don't want to go into that. We can use that energy, but instead of throwing now stones and protesting, I think we can use the power of our smartphones, our social media space, or the mainstream media, to promote better ideals when it comes to environmental conservation. So this is one of the avenues, but still through our social media, handles, we can be able to do a little bit more, and even as a government, because it's not always about taxation, but we can be able to entice people, by offering some goodies to them, so they can be able to support the government effort. Again, I know in terms of running the business, a lot has changed. I know if I compare the current business phase and a few years back, a lot has changed. And most of the time, tourism, I know we need there might be even more than 20 operating licenses. And every license comes with, a cost. I know at the Giraffes, when I joined, we used to buy just one license to operate as an organ, but almost every small unit is paying for a license to operate. And we have a lot of, regulation is good, but we should not over-regulate.
Yeah.
So that's another challenge, especially in the tourism space. So we need to do much more so that we don't lose. I know we also change in terms of we can increase the prices for some of the protected areas, but when we increase the price, then are we working to gain an optimum number of people we want to handle in a year when we can talk about sustainability? But it's about the money. Because when you focus about the money, you lose. But if you maximize on the optimum numbers, then you might gain more. So we might lose business to our neighbors if we are not very keen. And I know I talked about involving the community members in conservation. I know we now in the transition, especially in Amboseli, where the national park was handed to the local community members through the Kajiado County, but we can still do more so that we need to develop strategies and structures on how this can happen so that we don't do it in a rush and then we start suffering once again. So I know a few other counties have said they also want a share of the protected areas, which fall under their counties. I know Nairobi, you had our governor Sakaja say he wants a share of the income, or they also need to hand over Nairobi National Park to Nairobi County. I know Taita, they are also claiming a share of Savo West and Savo East National Park, Makueni. So Nakuru might also lay claim of Nakuru National Park, but what will happen? Do they have what it takes to manage a protected area? Because some of these parks, Amboseli, Nakuru, Nairobi National Park, they are very delicate and we need the experts to manage. But I always advocate for sharing of the benefits. It's not about transferring the management regime, but sharing of the income. We just need to have the right, share of the income, the national government to the county government, and to the local community members and probably our youth members and so.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So that's what I say. I'm also seeing even at the higher education level, most of the natural sciences, they're being dropped. We're going more for tourism, which is more of art and business related. But when it comes to natural resource, when it comes to wildlife management, range management, even some courses, they don't attract a lot of students. But we are a natural-based economy, and we are also an agricultural-based economy. I've taught, actually I didn't say, but I've taught as a part-time, lecturer at the Southeastern Kenya University, Seku. And sometimes, because I taught courses related to wildlife or related to environment, you got students who didn't even take a unit in biology in their high school, or someone who didn't do agriculture all their lifetime, and now they're coming to do agriculture at the university. Where do you start? And again, Kenya is still an agricultural, largely our economy is based on agriculture. But agricultural, related causes, they are not being given prominence by the government. So we need to do more. But of late, we're talking about the agro ecosystems, because now it integrates agriculture with natural resource management or wildlife management, which is a plus. But when, like in the earlier plans or structure where wildlife management and nature or agriculture were a bit detached, then you find we'll have conflicting, policies. But when we have the two being managed together, like this is an agro ecosystem because it includes the management of agriculture and also the natural resources, especially wildlife, then it becomes easy to win the trust of the local people and also people who are managing wildlife or natural resources within different counties or the national government to have a better structure on how they can be able to maximize on each of the enterprises which are running within those areas. So I feel, I don't know that I've been able to exhaust everything, but that's a plus. And now, with most of the young people now, you are lucky. Our days, we didn't have the days for smart TVs and smartphones, Nat Geo and the like. But as we watch, like I like call them like a cinema. I don't know. There's a name we use for that one. Like a movie was like, like for entertainment, but wildlife was not given from. But of late, we have a lot of content, even generated by individuals or our mainstream media station or guys who are generating content in terms of the environmental or wildlife space. So you're lucky. And I've seen even at the Giraffe Centre, my generation, we never used to travel a lot. The way we were brought up, life was very tough. Sometimes we thought like you don't enjoy, what you earn. You earned always to save and the like. And we wanted to give the best to our children, which happened right now. But for the young generation, the Gen Zs, the millennials, the alphas, they like enjoying their money. They like also enjoying their space. And I've seen even the Giraffe Center, mainly for content creation. Sometimes people come and it's not about the giraffe per se, but the main objective is to generate content. I was at the Giraffe Center. That's like one of, my days, it was the still cameras, someone carries the film back to Europe or back to the farthest end of this country from Nairobi. And you're the mercy of the studio guys who are supposed to develop that, film, if you know the days of the films and the like. So you could not share moments there and then. But of late, actually, even with the general tourism, it has become about experience, but not about the big five. So if the government can also maximize on this, because we have a lot of young people with readily available disposable income, so they can enjoy that money. And whether foreign tourists will come or not, we can be able to, run the tourism, enterprise or industry quite well. And it came very true during the COVID period. It was a tough period for people, especially in the tourism industry. But the local tourists are the one who supported the enterprises which are based in tourism. So that's an avenue, an opportunity for the government to maximize on it. But we need to engage and see what the youth want, because what probably my generation, my older generation, perceive of the young people is totally different from what you guys are aspiring. Days of the road trips, they are days of the current generation, the Ganya. And it's become, I've seen even some of the foreign tourists actually buy the Ganya experience. They want to ride on that Ganya. Like, so it's not something which is out of ordinary, but I say even the rest of the world probably it's extraordinary according to them. We might take it for granted, but I've seen it's something we can be able to maximize on. So we try just a weekend outing, the road trips and the like. So it's a big plus to help the youth to enjoy their leisure, and we can tap into that as a nation. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much, Anna. As we complete, maybe one final message to those passionate about conserving the environment. Maybe a word to them to Kimalizia.
I'll say environmental conservation is our responsibility. I think from the creation story, I think that's the foundation of conservation. Leave about the government act on environmental management or the constitution of Kenya, but we borrow it from religious or traditional teachings. When you look at our traditional stories about creation, the first man, whether based on the Quran, based on the Bible, based on the Hinduism, or based on the African traditional teachings, then was given responsibility to take care of Mother Nature. So I'll say we won't wait, or we can't wait for the government to help, sort our mess, but we can be able to do it. And I say, let's do our little thing, just like Wangari mother used to say about the story of the hummingbird. And, its act of trying to put off just a wildfire, no matter how tiny it was. So if you do your little thing and I do my little thing and the other Kenyan or any other global citizen, then we'll be able to save Mother Nature and we'll be able to enjoy much more. Because as Wangari mother still put it, Mother Nature will always give you time to, to act and to sort out your mess. If you're, messing with the environment. But when Mother Nature becomes angry with us, then the repercussions are really bad to bear. It's in the flooding. We've seen, the issue of the wars, sometimes driven by either geopolitics, and sometimes even we have had environmental-related wars and disasters. So let's act within the limits of Mother Nature and Mother Nature will be able to feed us, and we'll enjoy the benefits, and we'll leave something for generation to come. So that's my, my point of action to my fellow Kenyans or my fellow global citizens. Let's do our little things to save Mother Nature. Asante sana.
Asante sana. Thank you so much for this kind of information that you've shared. I've learned a lot, and I hope we'll continue taking care of the environment. Asante sana. Thank you so much. This was episode 3 of the RL podcast. See you on next episode.
Asante sana.
Asante. Thank you. Thanks.